Hey there, this is Daniel from WP-103, and did you know that there is not only one way to install plugins on WordPress? That's exactly what we're gonna talk about today. Let's go! And we start right with the classic, the WordPress.org repository. If you go on your WordPress installation on plugins and add plugins, you get greeted by this screen here, and it used to be the display of the most popular plugins for WordPress, but they rarely changed, so this was pretty much useless. Now they feature mainly lesser known and plugins with fewer installations, which is really cool. I discovered already a few plugins that I like to use now because of that. To use this is pretty straightforward. You just type in whatever plugin you like to install, or you choose one of these featured plugins here. You click on install now and activate it, and that's basically it. It's really good for beginners, it's super easy, and it basically just needs admin access, and that's all. The downside is it is limited to plugins that are in the WordPress.org repo, and if it's not there, you cannot install it. Another thing is you don't have a version control. You cannot choose which version you like to install. You just get the newest one. So now you know how to install plugins, but before we're installing plugins left and right, let's talk about something very important first. What can a plugin do once installed? Turns out quite a lot. And I'm talking especially about plugins with malicious intent. It can access your database and all the tables in your database. That's users, that's posts, options, whatever is there. It can access the file system and create, delete, edit files on there. So it can also activate and deactivate other plugins, for example. It can execute PHP code. For example, with the eval function, it can take a string and then execute that as a command, which is really dangerous. It can make HTTP requests and send data home. It can dump your whole database and just send it to somebody. Things like that. So what can go wrong? Somebody could create a hidden admin account. You cannot see it in your admin dashboard, but there is another admin account, and this admin can then do whatever an admin can do. Somebody can steal data. Data theft is quite common in malicious plugins. Also SEO poisoning, where somebody can destroy your Google ranking completely. Also the server can then be used as an attack base. It can send spam emails, it can use for crypto mining, or as part of a botnet. So as you can see, there is a lot that can go wrong, and before we go to the next installation methods, let's put some rules in place to be on the safe side. Number 1, use a staging server. A staging server is basically a copy of your production server, but it's not accessible on your regular domain. On this installation, you can then test and install new plugins or updates before they go on the production server. This helps you then to catch error messages or theme conflicts before it goes into production. Number 2, do your research. Before installing anything, check the page on WordPress.org. Check when it was last updated. If it's older than 2 years, that's usually not a good sign. If it has a lot of 1-star reviews, that's usually not a good sign. And if there are a lot of support tickets open, also not a good sign. So just the install number is not a good indicator if a plugin is safe or not. And number 3, only trusted sources. Install the plugins either from the repository on WordPress.org or directly from the vendor of the premium plugin. Never use some nulled or cracked plugins. They have guaranteed some malicious code or backdoor in them. Now you're up to speed, so let's go to number 2, the manual installation via zip file. First, we need a plugin that we want to install. The zip file of this plugin you usually get either by buying a premium plugin or by downloading it from another source than the WordPress.org repo, or to download it from the repo itself. If you go on any plugin and then under Advanced View, you can see this advanced options section, and here you just choose the version that you want to download. Let's go for that one, download it, and now we can install it by going on upload plugin, choose file, then we select the file that just got downloaded, install now, and that's basically it. And as I said, this is really good for plugins which are not on the WordPress.org repo. And if you install an outdated version of a plugin, make sure that auto updates are disabled. Otherwise, we installed now an older version, right? If we go on update, then we can see this is now here in the queue to be updated. So it can happen really easily that you update it by accident. So be aware of that. It's a little bit more manual work than just download it from the repo. And yeah, as I said, you might gonna update it accidentally. Number 3 is then just install it via the file system or via FTP. This works by just accessing the file system itself. You go in your root folder of your WordPress installation to WP content, plugins, and here you can see a list of all the installed plugins. You can install a new plugin by just dragging the folder inside the plugins folder. So we just drag and drop a folder inside here, and that's basically it. This folder needs to contain a plugin file which ideally has the same name as the folder. And depends on the plugins, there are more or less files in here. The downside of this method is you cannot activate a plugin. You can just install it or like make it visible for the admin so he can activate it later if you don't have admin access. And as for the last method I show you, it is also if you install a older version of a plugin, it might get updated via auto updates or by accidentally update it. So be aware of that. I really like this method also to deactivate plugins when WordPress is crashed, for example, and you cannot access the backend anymore. You just go into the plugin folder, you select then the plugin you want to deactivate, for example, this if-else pages, and you just rename the folder to something else. And if you reload now the plugin page, you can say it's still here, but it got deactivated because it couldn't find the folder anymore. You also get here a message, the plugin has been deactivated to an error. But it shows up again because it is still in the plugin folder. So if you want to really get rid of it, then you can just delete the whole folder from your file system, and then the plugin will be gone as well. This is really good for debugging and removing plugins. There we go, and it's gone. But this doesn't delete the things in the database, so just use this as a last resort. Deactivate and also deinstall the plugins on this page. Next up is via WP-CLI, and that's one of my favorite methods, but also it has the highest or higher requirements than the other method I just showed you. The way it works, you need to have SSH access to your server. This is usually the easiest on your local development server, but some hosters also offer it, but not a ton. So check if your hoster supports it, and if he does, then you can use it. It is really cool because you can script things and you can deactivate and activate multiple plugins at once. Let me demonstrate. We just go into the folder where WordPress installed and we type WP plugin activate all. And this activates all the plugins now, which is way faster than doing it in this view. And if you reload the page, you can see all the plugins are now activated, and we get even some welcome screens. That's another cool thing. If you activate and deactivate plugins via the CLI, you don't get bothered by this welcome screens, which are sometimes breaking the chain of activating multiple plugins at once in this admin view. But we can do more than that. We can also install plugins, for example. All you need is the slug of the plugin, and you basically just say WP plugin install, then the name of it, and then we give the flag activate, which not only downloads it, it also activates the plugin. And just like that, the plugin is installed now. And you can also, of course, deactivate all the plugins at once, which is really handy for debugging as well. There we go, all deactivated. So this is really good for developer and system administrator, and also for people who like to script things. If you want to deactivate multiple plugins on multiple sites at once, you can make a script. It requires for you to be familiar with the CLI and also with the terminal. And another thing is, it is quite tricky to get it work on Windows. I'm using Ubuntu here, and here it just works like a charm. Next up is to install the plugins via Composer. This is mainly for developer and mainly on local systems. This is really handy if you need full version control, so you decide which plugins are getting installed and which version of this plugin gets installed. And you can have this across multiple environments. That's really handy. And I'm using here the WP packages for Composer. And the way it works, you go on WP packages, click get started, and then you just follow the instructions here. And at the end of the day, you get a file like this, where you can define which plugins and which versions you want to install. Here, for example, we just grab the newest version of each plugin, but you can define then the version, and it will just install the plugin then by running a command in the terminal. The downside is you need to have a Composer-based setup already. It's not really difficult to set it up, but still, and it has a steeper learning curve than just going on add plugins and install it. And that's it. Well, almost. There is one thing more I would like to show you, and you maybe noticed we have a must use category up here, and these are plugins you cannot deactivate. And the way it works is you go to WP content, you create a new folder, or use the folder if it exists already, called MU plugins. MU stands for must use, and every file that's in here gets loaded as a plugin. You cannot use a regular plugin for that. You have to use this exact file structure. If you make a subfolder, for example, then it will not really work anymore. You can, of course, have folders where your plugin is then referring to, but you cannot have the main plugin file in a folder. This is very good for plugins that shouldn't be deactivated under any circumstances. And there is also no option to deactivate it. The only way to get rid of them is by just deleting them from the file system. And that's it. That's all the ways how to install WordPress plugins. Do you know another method? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, you know the deal. And I catch you in the next one.